Good morning, everybody. How are we? Are we all feeling fresh? Thank you for that kind introduction, David. And thank you to my sponsors, the Trehane Trust, who without this, it would not be possible for me to be stood on stage. I'd like to start with a little confession for you all. I used to think I became a vet because I don't really like people. That's it, all of you. I'd much rather you were cows. Way simpler, way easier to manage. But I wanted to talk about people, processes, potential today and come up with a great blueprint for team management on farm. So you might be asking, why is a vet bothered about people? Surely I should be focusing on cows. But over the last 11 years, as I've been working in the industry, the more and more I've operated with different farms of varying sizes, I've come to realize something. Cows are actually pretty simple. They crave consistency. Give them the right nutrition, the right environment, and they are absolute powerhouses of performance. But actually, it's people that makes all this quite complex and quite tricky. And this was summarized absolutely brilliantly and succinctly by one of the guys I met on my travels in Australia, Joey Conhede. Animal welfare is intrinsically linked to human welfare. And I've got a dream off the back of this. It's happy cows, happy people, and happy businesses. And I think we can all agree that that's something we're all fiercely passionate about. Now, I appreciate I'm talking about the dairy industry today, but no matter who you are in this room and no matter what your business, you'll be part of a team. It might be a small team, your family team around the kitchen table. It might be 90 employees, 100 employees, nay, 500 employees. It doesn't matter how big your team is. I'm hoping you'll all be able to take something away today. So on my travels from Tasmania to Chile to Brazil to Australia, Ireland, Italy, and the Netherlands, I distilled my learnings into 3 key things that I hope you'll take away. Why, who, and how. So I'd like to paint an example of each of these for you, talk a little bit about my travels, and leave you with some exciting new learnings. So to start with, this is the Dia Lecheiro cow in São Paulo state of Brazil. And look at this amazing animal, this fatty hump, the big droopy ears here that are brilliant for heat exchange, the large frontal sinuses. These are absolute milking powerhouses. They're adapted to the climate. They utilize the nutrition brilliantly to be milk-producing animals. But as I said, I'm not here to talk about the cows, actually. I'm here to talk about the people. And it is this woman, Roberta Bertin Barros, that inspired me on this visit because she had crystallized her why. Back in the 1800s was when the Dia Lecheiro came over to Brazil, and less than 700 of those animals made their way over from India. Some of you might be thinking that's a pretty narrow gene pool. This woman was passionate about accelerating the genetics, showcasing what an amazing breed of animals these could be and just how well they could produce milk. No matter who you were within her business, whether you were milking the cows, whether you were showing the cows, you knew that your North Star was to be a showcase for what these animals can achieve. And that's what we've got to think about within our businesses. How do we instill that sense of purpose in our team and in our employees? And if you're the leader of that business, what can you do to set the mission for everybody? Find out your why and get everyone on board with it. So the second thing, the who. Now, if anybody had told me during my Nuffield travels that I'd have found out some of my biggest lessons on the 117th floor of a Melbourne skyscraper, where I almost got a nosebleed, I didn't feel like I was very fitting because I was in a check shirt and dirty boots, I'd have told you were having a joke. But actually, it's here that I met Ben James, CEO of Aurora Dairies. So this company owns 55 pasture-based farms across Australia and Tasmania. They employ 500 people, 47,000 head of cattle, 22,000 following heifers, and producing 280 million litres of milk. Pretty big. And he taught me one thing. In order to effectively manage someone, you first need to know about yourself. This is where I'd like to get a little bit of engagement for all you guys and hopefully leave you with something. So what we're going to do now is a little bit of short, snappy personality profiling. That's it. We're going to work out who you are and what you are like. So what I'm going to do is read out 4 statements, or 4 sets of words, if you like. I want you to close your eyes, and I want you to think about which of these words resonates most with you. The first set of words: peacekeeper, harmony, empathetic. You don't actually like conflict all that much, and you want to make sure that everybody is happy. The second set of words: enthusiastic, energetic. You might get a little bit easily distracted. You are absolutely super passionate about people. The third set of words: logical, data-driven. You like to make sure you've got all the information ahead of you before you make a decision. You might be quite reflective. And the final set of words: you are driven, you are motivated, you are results passionate. That's what drives you and is your go-to. Some people might say you're a bit blunt, to be completely honest. So if you open your eyes, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how we can differentiate people. So those 4 different set of words can be defined by these different bird personality profiles. The dope, if you like, is what we call them. So if you resonated with that first set of words, you're a dove, you're a peacekeeper, and you like harmony. You're people-orientated, but you might be a little bit reserved. If you resonated with the second set of words, you're a peacock, unsurprisingly. You are outgoing, you are people-passionate, and you're in that top corner. If you resonated with the third set of words, you're an owl. You're really logical. You like to make data-driven decisions. And if you resonate with the final set of words, you're an eagle. There's a lot of eagles, I suspect, in the room. You often find that in our farming communities. But understanding yourself a little bit better, or getting even better, getting your team to do this, can be really useful, because suddenly you understand the strengths, the weaknesses, the blind spots some of us have, and how to capitalize on them and make the most out of our teams. And after all, a harmonious team that has resilience is going to operate better with each other. Unsurprisingly, I'm a peacock. You might have gathered that by the fact I've chatted to all of you. I've admitted that I do actually like people. And it was at this point that the enthusiastic peacock thought she wanted to be a Brazilian cowboy for the rest of her life. But at some stage, we all need that eagle, that driven person who can make a quick decision. And after a 7-hour taxi journey across the heart of Brazil, where we ended up cramming 6 people in a vehicle that should only fit 4, and a tyre fell off, it was at this point that I was glad to have the eagle stood next to me saying, "Let's just go get a beer, mate." And so finally, the how. How are we going to do this? And it was this point, as a vet who has written so many beautiful protocols. I've laminated them, I've stuck them up on dairy walls, and I've said, this is what we are going to do. I was told that, actually, Han, you've been doing it wrong. You have been doing it wrong for the last 11 years. And here we can see Itamar. He was the farm manager of Fazenda Cachoeira, a Brazilian beef unit looking after the beautiful Nelore cattle. And here he was managing his team of cowboys as they tended to the freshly calved animals, either harvesting colostrum, feeding calves, just making sure the husbandry took place appropriately. And he said something to me, "E coração e com alma," with heart and with soul. Actually, we need to get people intrinsically motivated. Trying to force people is not the way to do things. He said, "Han, you need to start with the outcome, and the process will follow." And I'd encourage everybody within your teams, if you know you want to do something, start with what we want to achieve. You might find that the people in the room actually have a better solution, a better way of doing it. Now, if you told me that the outcome of this particular Brazilian horseback journey for somebody who has actually never ridden a horse before was going to be the gait of John Wayne and saddle sore, I might not have been as excited to go on it, but it was one of the most amazing, beautiful parts of my Nuffield journey. So it's dead simple. In theory, it's the why, it's the who, and it's the how. But the Aussies taught me this. Management doesn't happen on its own. We need to start making the time for this and prioritizing it. I know it's not as sexy as a brand new tractor. I know sometimes technology might be more appealing. But actually, I would argue that people are one of the best investments you can make. And if you set your business up as the employer of choice, people will come to you. So how do we turn this on to change on farm? And this is what I remember from my interview. Why should we pick you? To me, it's about leaving today and going and talking about it, asking those questions, whatever team it is. Ask them why. Every team needs a clear goal. We need to know why we're doing what we're doing. We need to instill that sense of purpose. Think about how. Become outcome-driven over process-driven. Go back home and say, if this is what we want to achieve, you guys tell me how we're going to do it. Consider who is in your team. Personality profiling can be a really useful way of doing this. And sometimes it breaks down those barriers and those kind of fears about admitting what might be some of our flaws, but are also some of our strengths. And people management takes time, effort, and structure. This just doesn't happen on its own, guys. We've got to make sure that we're investing as much of our time into this as we are other parts of the business. And so finally, Nuffield has shown me so much more than I ever thought it could. The people who have come into my life have changed it for the better. A huge thank you to everybody who's supported me, who's been part of that journey. A huge thank you to my cohort, where I know I've got friends for life. And I'd just like to share with you this Māori proverb that was said to us at our Canadian CSC. He aha te mea nui o te ao. Makua ki atu, he tangata, he tangata, he tangata. What is the most important thing in the world? Well, let me tell you. It is people, it is people, it is people. Thank you.